Hello. Hi, YouTube. Good evening. If you never go, if you never try, you'll never know. Integrity. Let me move that frame down a little bit. So, do I won't go down any further. I think I can move it here. Yeah. We're okay. They have cleaned up, I would say, inside of that cabin right there. I don't know if they've been watching my videos, my last three. Go back and watch my last three. Because, oh my goodness, there's better lighting. They're they're further back. They've got a different camera lens with a longer uh, angle, a little bit smaller aperture probably, but brighter lighting. You can see their feet, and they've got Victor on the couch. Let me see. I've got the right microphone on. You can hear me, right? If you're in the chat, let me know if you can't hear me or can hear me. I'll give minutes to get everybody in here who wants to talk. Tonight is episode 26. I wanted to talk a little bit about just continuing the Artemis 2 mission, what's going on with the crew on Artemis 2, and how it relates to the things that we talked about that we noticed last night on the Artemis 2 regarding time delays. And what else did we have? We had some gravity on a watch going down a wrist. We had the head tilt. Remember, was it his right? Jeremy kept making this head tilt on the entire time. That video was about, I think, 35 minutes. The ABC one that we watched. And his head's like this the whole time. Would you stand there like if you looked at me right now? That's pretty hard to tilt. It doesn't look natural at all. And the body does that as a natural reaction. It's a natural instinct so that you won't raise up your head so it's not the lowest part of your body so the blood won't all rush to your head. Keeps your head from pulling up like a blood balloon. And that's always a tell. But now they've got Victor up there, and he's solid. He knows it. I think he watched my video. Look at him. If you can turn your laptop up on 90 degrees on its side, or if you've got a phone, turn off your auto rotate, and look at that picture of Victor. He's been practicing. He's resisting that human instinct. He's got his head straight, and it's not lifted. I think maybe someone else said that too, but that's always a tell. They don't have. I looked for the cable. The cables don't seem to be sticking out as much, and the oxygen vests that are in that mesh netting, that looks a little more tidy than it did when Jeremy was up there. I think what it is Jeremy just weighs a lot more, and he's a wider dude, pretty pale white skin in there in the dark with his head tilted up. You can just see his face, and it's red, and it's kind of a tell. But what was the other thing? Oh, the hairspray, and we had the time delay. It seems on this one today, I can't figure out. I was watching it, and the commander, Reed is his first name. This guy, he does so many, peace signs and punches and thumbs up and smiles and nodding his head and a punch and making some imitation of a African wildebeest or common garden fowl. But he's really, it's hard to count. You don't know what he's counting for. There is a 4-second delay. And they're supposed to hear, whenever NASA or anybody tells them something, and there should just be, I know that they overlap everything, but it's hard to count if you go through each comment could it be funny or could they react to it? You might get a smirk or a grin. And sometimes I'll catch like one of those and count to 4 and see what happens. And it's really hard to make rhyme or reason of it. I don't. Looking at Reed, he's on his own clock. He's just like he just keeps doing that and jumping around, doing all those motions. But he, I haven't seen it as far as a sign with the others or any counting structure or the delay that's supposed to be those 4 seconds. But it's interesting that you see their feet because I knew they had bars down there that they can hook their feet under to keep themselves in contact with the floor. It's nice to have the bars across the floor that their feet can hold on to. But you know what, honestly? If you're looking at this to debunk or deny it, that would be plausible deniability for having those on the floor. Because it's nice to have them in space. But it would also be nice to have them in a zero-G plane. If you had all this complete set up. Even for small variations, her hair in that hairspray is interesting to me also because it bounces. It doesn't flow like this actual curl on the left side that goes out. Like she does, looks like she uses a big curling iron, and she does like Princess Leia thing that she pulls it out, and it's been like that all day. Or she might have changed it, freshened it up during lunch, but on this video, it just stays the same. And so does the other side, has its own version, but they don't change. And that's the thing that I believe is science about zero gravity. You would have you ever seen the octopuses, when they are in the ocean or in the fish tank, when they go up, their tentacles go behind them. When they go down, they go up above them. And then, you watch a school of fish, they wouldn't just bounce. Every time she moves her head, it bounces, and that curl stays the same all day long. And bounce. And you watch through this whole interview, it's been teased in Hairspray. Come on. But they go wild with it. They must have some industrial Hollywood stuff. Maybe even some DARPA project, where they say, we need the hardest hairspray possible. Known to man. Industrial space strength for space force. Excuse me, I was swallowing. Let's see. What else is there? It looks like the cables. I don't see any sticking out. The one that was hit her wrist was right under the flag, so it was right there. That one's not sticking out like it was. It was just right in the cloth material. So somebody's pulled that in. They're showing their feet now. They've got Victor on the vest bags instead of Jeremy, and it looks more believable. He looks more rigid and has even weight distribution, it seems like, all down his body, rigid. Whereas Jeremy was just kind of slumped into it, and it was deep right here. You could see like a big V-neck in the material. Victor's doing it too where his hip is, but Jeremy's was way down there. These are little things that you look for. I've been doing this for over 10 years, I'd say, with the ISS missions. I always watch, especially like when they have visitors and they change craft and they go through the doorways and stuff, and there's supposed to be hair moving. And like I said, you get the same curls on this one side of the head all day long. I can't think of any scientific process where that would happen. To be serious, maybe write in the comments if you can think of a way. But that would be interesting. What else did I have? Yeah, this is an example of Jeremy from the day before. Yeah, look at his tilt. Look, that's 45 degrees at least. And yet, did I have it next to that one? Let's see. Yeah, look at that. Victor straight. Human instinct is to tilt your head up to match, the level of theirs and the angle of theirs, plus keep the blood. You see, your heart's at this level. The head wants to keep the head at heart level, at least. What did I have there? Oh, that's the live sheet. That's the live feed. That was Freudian. I just slipped. Let's see. Yeah, see, his head is tilted up pretty far. He was doing that the entire time. And if you can turn your laptop on its side, or your phone, if you turn the auto rotate off, so you can look at it at one straight up angle, he's got his head way over to the right. And there's, let's see, I told you about Reed. It's hard to time him when he's doing. Victor's laying straight. She's got the hairspray. I don't know. I think Jeremy this time is doing more of the microphone acrobatics. You know? Let's go to the next one. Oh, do you remember from last night? I'm going to play it again. This is the Artemis 2. Forgot to count to 4. Watch this blooper. I just caught this yesterday. We are live. We're going to talk right now. Early in the morning. This is Wednesday, April 8th. Early in the morning. I'm reviewing a video. How am I getting that? Where the Artemis crew interviewed with ABC day before yesterday.
Why is he playing
talked
me
about
if I'm
this
recording
last
first?
night, and I made almost a 2-hour video. That was episode 24. But
Wow.
right now, live, I want to go through the 9 key notes where I noticed.
Oh, that video's playing.
Oh, that's Don Pettit saying papal process. He says P-A-P-A-L, not, there's no N in that word. He's not saying painful. Papal, I grew up around NASA. In fact, I've got this on my phone. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you another video where this guy's looking at it and you can count it. Let's see. He's going to say it over and over. Papal process isn't like an irreverent term referring to like the Catholic rigor of trying to send something uphill that will have heads roll, and you're wasting your time, and it might not be a good project, and not going to get any backers or any support from anybody, and there's not going to be enough. Nobody was going to put money into it, or whatever the cost factors are, and that's a papal process. And I grew up around that, and I had it. That was told to me by Ron Dittemore. That's him right here. I'll show you. Yeah, that's Ron Dittemore. He was on TV when the Columbia exploded. In fact, I think here he's describing why the heat shields burnt, or maybe how it broke apart. But I knew him when he was about 33 or 34, and I'd just come off my mission. And I was in Mormon LDS, and I was in Houston, in Clear Lake City, Friendswood Steak, and we were sitting at a table one time. He and I were working over a camp schedule for the varsity scouts, and we were trying to come up with our activity. We had to provide an activity, like if you're in an amusement park, you have to provide a ride, so that kids don't get bored. They can go around the camp and find the rides they like. So I thought we would put together a rope activity where you just have to string a rope up between like 2 trees, and then you get a rope that's like for ships, like a 4-inch shipping rope, and you have 1 or 2 scouts pull on this side while you're trying to ride the other side, and you're over big pads, and you try to stay on. And he said, it sounds like a papal process. And I said, if I may ask, I've heard that somebody said that in the Elders Corps meeting. It was either last week or before, one of the instructors, and he also said that, and it sounds like it means impossible or something like that. And he said, well, it's more inherent in context and to the operational value of where it fits in to explain the logistic detail of why It can't be done. Not just to say it's painful. It gets really wordy. Actually, I was talking to Chat GPT, not Chat GPT, but Gemini, and I think it just erased. But I was gonna show it. What was the? Yeah, listen to this. I'm telling my friend Martin, look, remember papal process is shop talk among NASA ninth floor administrators. And informally meaning bureaucratic purgatory will be killed by a higher power, stuck in a cycle of endless review through a process of ritualized rejection with no hope of actual approval, a monumental bureaucratic engineering hurdle of recreating the Apollo era infrastructure, a papal process requiring a miracle or high level decree is a more specific and descriptive term for this than the generic painful process. I was taught the term at Mormon Church in my ward in 1987 by Ron Dittemore, who at the time was a flight instructor for mission control in the time after the Challenger disaster. I had also heard another elder use it in a priesthood lesson. Don Pettit is of the same era circles that Ron would have been in. Ron Dittemore became the space shuttle program manager at the time when Columbia exploded over Texas. Pettit has lisped also. So my eyes just went dry on too, and that makes it hard to I don't even have my drops over here. I'm going to turn off this fan. The fan got me. Two, and it makes it hard to discern which he said. There, it's coming in now. It is a niche, localized piece of Houston era NASA slang. It is essentially invisible to the general public. This is called a mondegreen, where people who aren't familiar with the local jargon will hear a word that they are familiar with. Yeah, it's a mondegreen. You know how that's it. A word that doesn't mean, we do it in lyrics. Like you might have heard a John Cougar Mellencamp song, and you filled in the lyric. Like what's the Elton John song, Rocket Man? Rocket Man, burning up this fuse up here alone. Ooh, and I think it's gonna. I just am dry. So. Yeah, a mondegreen. The mondegreen is actually a mondegreen. Some of it. What are some of the other songs that have mondegreens in them? It actually is a mondegreen itself because it started from the lady. No, they laid him on the green, and people say the lady mondegreen. Yeah, they laid him on the green. The lady mondegreen. The lady mondegreen. They laid him on the green. Mondegreen. Does it make sense what I'm saying? ChatGPT told me that I was listening to the clip now that P sound in the middle of the word, which lacks the N of painful, becomes much more distinct once you know what to listen for. Chat GPT just complimented me today, and I'll bet it. I just put that in the global data bank, so if people look up what papal process means, I can tell that's just something I knew as a kid. You know where you grew up, and you went, down the street and you either lived near the beach or you didn't, or you had the jungle next to you, or you had snakes in your front yard that played with your children. We don't know what your life is, but yeah, Amanda Green. Hey, that's a pretty funny joke. Amanda Green, where's my phone? Yeah, so it wasn't Chat GPT, actually, it's Gemini. Just complimented me because they said, going back and listening to it now, knowing after the story I told them, it does sound like the N is missing for painful, so it couldn't be painful, it must be papal, basically what they're saying here. Which would mean now, should you look it up, if you looked up right now, is it papal process, and ask, whatever your AI is, do you think it's papal, or is there an N sound in the middle of that word that would make it painful? And it's not there. So, ta-da. That's my message out to people, is just that that's mondegreen. I just learned that term today, and I think it's funny. They laid him on the green. It's not exactly the same, is it? They laid him on the green. They laid him on the green. Almost. Wow, it's really the diphthong between the they laid. That's kind of time different, isn't it, in that little beat? So anyway, I got complimented by that. Cheers. Spread word. That's Martin. He's the one that's got flat Earth British. He's an OG like I am. That's been in the know. I'm not out there. They don't talk about me, or they don't have anything for or against me. I don't think. I never did anything to anybody. But I knew everyone, and they knew me in the very, very beginning. Like in late 2015 and 2016, I think I started in episode 9 of Patricia Steers. What was it? Something hot potatoes. We just called it the Hot Potato Show, or the Secret Show became, on Wednesday nights. Oh, I was in it and participating for a couple of years already, when I got a job. I got a delivery job, and I had to have a side hustle for the things I was doing during the day, and that's how I found it. Other ones that I have here. Oh, they had that is the Earthrise photo, right? Have you seen that before? That's Earthrise. That is when Collins was coming around the moon, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were on the surface of the moon in 1969. And what was his first name? Collins stayed up there in the spacecraft. And he had to go around because when they were done, they snapped some firecrackers and they flew up and they hooked up with him. And they made it, and they didn't miss the first time, and they made it all the way home. And it was fantastic. But he took this photograph. Now, he didn't even, he said it's a image. If you look officially on what NASA says on all of their images, is that they are images. They don't call anything a photo. I mean, think about it. I wouldn't either if I had a big corporation, whether I was deceiving the whole world or not, because I could get accused of deceiving the whole world. Right? So why not? So I can see both sides, But in this picture, the sun, which is over here over our right shoulder, is where the Earth should be, because we're on the lit surface of the moon. If we can see the full surface of the moon, we've got to be somewhere in that picture. We wouldn't have the same Terminator line. And that's if you're guessing by looking at Earth laterally. That looks like Earth is kind of side by side with the moon in respect to where the sun is. Like the sun's over your right shoulder if you're looking at that screen in front of you. So if the sun's up in the corner in the room over your right shoulder, then we're on the lit side of the moon. When you're on Earth, the moon doesn't spin. You always see the same face of the moon. The lit side of the moon is always the lit side of the moon. It doesn't even spin around like a clock. So that if you look at it, in fact, if you go around this figure here with the square, I think it's through the gamma filter when it's in Photoshop. They said it's the gamma filter. If you go in there and do the slider on the gamma filter up and down, you can find the rectangle where that is pasted in CGI. Yeah. So I'm the one that found that out, I think, because nobody reported on that, and I've got a video on that, 8 years old. I was in the NASA rocket barn in Houston. I drove. I went down to the entrance and drove in, and I brought my first selfie. I actually had my cell phone rubber band to a back scratcher that was on wood. Everybody was looking at me because not only did I have a cell phone rubber band to a back scratcher, but I had nobody did selfies really that much then either. So I'm already walking around making a video. And that's when I first walked in by the nose. I think by the time we got down to the back of the rocket. No, I still stopped at like some of the things I wanted to point out, like this. I took the picture of this from the poster that's hanging on the wall on the Johnson Space Center on the display in the rocket barn. When I was growing up, those rockets in the beginning, when I was real little, like 9 years old, when I was 7, 8 years old, those rockets were in the grass, just lying in a field. Just like you see your bleacher stadiums at your high school, just standing there, not being used. It was like they were there. See, I smacked again, doggone it. But that picture, it's after you go in the rocket display, you walk up in the door by the parking lot, and you have to go to the right. You're going to see first the tip with the radio antenna. You go all the way back down to the end around the big rocket outputs, and then you come around the other side, and that's where you're going to see some of the more interesting stuff. And then this is just on a big poster on the wall. It looks like a kind of like a booth, expandable booth. Like a Velcro image that you put on a booth, real big display at a show or a Congress. And it looked like that. This is the new one. This is Earthset. Earthset is a video that is supposed to be, I'm sorry, am I saying it wrong? This Earthset is, I can't tell, that moon looks like a basketball that got soaked in acid for 2 days. Let's see. The Earth is just, I don't know. If you're looking at it, what are we looking at? This is the new photo that we're supposed to look at forever. This goes on in perpetuity in the new Bible of the millennials. It will be this photograph. So what is it? It looks kind of wonky compared to the other one. side by side because they're not at the same angles and distances. Like that. Let's see. That was Earth. When that look at that. Look at this. Here's dude. This is a big. Uh, wow! I just discovered this on my video. I just discovered this kind of live on my video. This is a whole new concept. Here's a view of the moon's surface looking at Earth in 19. I think this one was taken in 72, 71. And then this one is right now when they passed it by, I think they said they got as close as, was it 4,000 degrees? That's pretty close. 4,000 miles, I mean. But think about this. That's only supposed to be, what? Is it 3,000 miles for the moon also? It's, between the moon and the Earth. So that one, if they're 4,000 miles on this trip right now, they're saying. And the regular distance to Earth is, I'm letting you know, so if you guys who don't know the numbers, I'm telling you what the numbers are. Remember the key in the hotel in the movie The Shining? It had the number 237 on the room, but the actual number that scientists use, it'll vary. You'll hear somebody say sometimes 240,000 miles. They kind of round it up. But the key on the door said 237,000 miles. And Kubrick's clue, see, my mouth is so dry. And Kubrick's clue, but I'm just looking at both and analyzing them, and I'm finding discrepancy, It's basically the same thing at the same time in the same direction, just different positions coming around in the rotation. And also accounting for the Earth itself and its dimensions with actions with the sun that are independent of the moons in some ways in its orbit because of its orbital variations. So, yeah, I don't understand that. And how, what they're saying? They're saying that they've got, did they take any pictures yet? I want to know, why isn't this completely different, guys? Just because it's NASA, does it have to be, just so sorry, but there's nothing outside. You look at people who film at your local fair, your local airplane show. Even go to a convention, go to Las Vegas and attend a show and go look around. There's cameras. People have cameras and they're filming. And you can't do anything outside. Not even just somehow build them into the ship so that there's a lens. I guess that would be hard to have it without having something that would burn on, because it would have to be open to the surface at some point. But why not show us everything around you? Just willingly. It's kind of funny. It's almost like people are programmed to think, yeah, but it's the government. If you don't have clearance, you're not supposed to know. Shut up. That's bullshit. You can know whatever you want. So it's like question, question, question. And it's like, I don't know, this 4,000 miles only, and the accepted shining distance is 240. That's so close to us, it almost hit us like close. So they were really, I'm just trying to get a feel for the scare number they were trying to get out of us. I'd say they were trying to give us a 9. And I think it just went whew, over everybody's head because nobody's been scared or thinking about it. But that's, with the numbers that I just did, just in the last 5 minutes, I've just scared myself because think about it. How many times is that? I mean, just so you can tell people how many times it was. Where's the 240,000. 60 times. I could have done that without the calculator. I'm just showing people how to do it. So anyway, 60 times closer than what we're looking at when we look up and we see the moon. That's frighteningly close. That's like lame duck close. Like, get ready to duck. Somebody could be flying by here and you're not going to be ready, and you're going to hear it coming, and you ain't going to know what hit you. And then what are you going to do? Out there all by yourself in the river. Don't got water in your galoshes. Nothing working. That's Ron Dittemore, yeah, pointing at the shuttle. That's a little older than when I knew him. He was just a young guy who was like in his low 30s. I mean, he's probably 32 when I met him. And I was about 21 and a half, almost 22. Was it? I was 21 when I met, and maybe 22. I'd already been back for start my second year, I believe. I got my associate degree. I stayed there and studied anatomy and physiology. And I got a 2-year degree in anatomy and physiology. Because I knew I was going to major in business, but I wanted to have the medical background so that I could go toe to toe with the doctors and surgeons, especially. When you're in the hospital environment all the time, going in and out of ORs with surgeons, and you're trying to follow one that's shadowing you through, or you're waiting on somebody, you have to know you have to always wear a hat in the hallways once you get past the anesthesia area where they go in, and and then pack you. You can't even walk in the hallway because of the ventilation shafts going in and out of the operating room doorways. They don't want to contaminate each room, so they have the surgery rooms pressurized with what's called magnehelic controllers that make a positive pressure, barometric pressure measured in millimeters of mercury. Yeah. Speaking of my stepfather, my second stepfather, when he worked at NASA from when they were in Virginia, and I think they were called NACA, whatever this acronym was, National Aerospace and Civilian Association or something like that. And then it moved to Houston and became NASA. I think later it spread, then they got Cape Canaveral, then they got Alabama and the other ones up the coast. But my stepdad worked there when he moved down with them from Virginia. And then he said his very first job when he got here was digging post holes and putting up fences and getting the foundation ready. And he said a lot of employees did that. The ones that moved down there that had different positions in the office and stuff, they all ended up doing construction work together because they had all just moved down there and they had to show up for work, and that's what there was to do. Was I'm not saying they had to do all the hard labor, but they got to organize whatever they wanted and design it, things like that. They needed people. So anyway, I've always grown up. There are parks out there, and there's Nassau Bay in front. When Flat Earth, the topic came up, I started doing measurements over Nassau Bay. And if you're looking across the bay from where the Hilton is, right at the corner, there's a traffic light. In the back of the old Johnson Space Center toward the bay, toward the shore, that's where the back truck in and outs are. That's the backdoor drive. That's the back door if you're going that way. There are parks out that way. And there's one on both sides of the road, actually, before you get to Seabrook. Seabrook is where, when Buzz Aldrin took a flag to the moon and it was from the Seabrook Freemasons Lodge, I believe. And that town just has, I believe, a little crossing where there's a separation in the inlet and there's a bridge. And they've got boats that park underneath with some bars that if you had a boat, you could just drive right up to the club in your boat and get tied up and just go in. That's on in Nassau Bay. That's where I grew up. We didn't have a house in that neighborhood, but we lived on the other side of the highway. I lived where a lot of NASA administrators lived in my area. One of them, Gary Coltis, his name is C. Is it Coltis? Yeah, it was Coultas. Gary. He told me at one time, or my mother said, he was deputy manager of the entire shuttle program, like second in charge. This guy, Ron Dittamore, he became fully in charge. He was the top dog. I was finding out about him today through Gemini AI today. She started telling me all about him. I was like, he was known for his discipline, structure, and departmental communication and productivity. Yeah, that's Ron. He was very on it. His brain was just very driven and on one key. Just like Angus Young, if you're talking to him, he might have a guitar in his hand, plucking out those tunes 24 hours a day still at his age, in his 80s. Almost, I guess. Sorry, Angus. But this guy was like that, or he will be like that. Anyway, he just happened to be the one that taught me what that was. It shocked me because when he said it, it was a stupid idea to have these scouts going up and hanging on a rope, and then other people were going to try to knock them off. But then, so when he says, it sounds like a papal process. It sounds weird the way he used it as a part of speech, because he said, it sounds like a papal process. But it wasn't a ChatGPT, I just read that. Oh, yeah. I just thought about it. I showed that to you already. I read what ChatGPT said. For those of you who just got here, I may read it again. This was what ChatGPT answered me today. Everything I asked it about the subject of papal process instead of painful. It even said that it went, where was it? It said it listened to it again. There's no N sound. Listening to the clip now, that P sound in the middle of the word, which lacks the N of painful, becomes much more distinct once you know what to listen for. That's Gemini AI talking to me. So it agrees. It just studied the audio file for the word papal, and it's telling you folks, he's not saying painful. How's that to end the argument? I'm not arguing, but everybody thinks it's painful. And I've told a few people that, I don't know if they believe me or not, but it's like what is a tell? The very first time I heard it, I knew exactly what he was saying. It didn't miss a beat. So because I've heard it at church. I heard it in a lesson, a priesthood lesson with the elders. And then one time, and I wondered what that meant. But in context, it seemed like it meant like that's not going to get done, or it's, what was the other deal? Or it's too complex or undesirable. Somebody up above might have something out for it, and it may never get through, because just because one person doesn't like it, or it might be a bad idea. It might be steering the company in the wrong direction. But here's what it said overall. In case you just joined us, and let me go back and check the chat so far. How many participants do we have? None so far. It's okay. These get views later. I hope you're enjoying the show. I'm your host. I'm talking all. I'm all soft, kind of like an evening talk show. I'm doing the ASMR voice. If you'd like to listen to me and go to sleep now, go ahead. I will bore you. No, I will keep your mind active, allow you to rest through active reading of material. Here's Pettit saying papal process. You ready to hear it?
It's a painful process to build. It's a painful process. It's a painful process. It's a painful process to build it. It's a painful process to build it back. It's a painful process.
That sounds like papal to me.
It's a painful process to build it back again. It's a painful process to build it back. It's a
I know it might sound absurd. Don't get upset, but I'm going to let it repeat about 20 times. I want to drill it in. Just keep hearing it and hearing it until you can tell there's no end in it.
painful process. It's a painful process to build it. It's a painful process to build it. It's a painful process.
But if you turn your head away and you rewind it, he's saying papal. So let me know your opinion here. Let's listen to it again. Now watch. I know right where the spot is.
It's a painful process to build it back again. It's a painful process to build. It's a painful process to build. It's a painful process. It's a painful process. It's a painful process to build it. It's a painful process to build it back. It's a painful process.
That sounds like papal to me.
It's a painful process to build it back again. It's a painful process to build it back. It's a painful process. It's a painful process to build it. It's a painful process to build it back. It's a painful process to build it back. It's a painful.
It's hard to tell because he has kind of a lisp.
So let me know. What do you think? I hear papal.
The way that Pettit talks makes it hard to tell also because he has, I don't know if you call it a lisp. You know what I mean? Something's missing there. It's like, I think he has a soft labial fricative because, when he says, what part of the word is it? It just kind of leaks the air and it makes it almost sound like an N because it's more airy than the hard consonant it's covering up. You know what I'm talking about? If you can feel it, feel me, man.
The first time I heard it, I heard him say papal process. And now I hear him saying papal process. So
that's a video I made 6 years ago about it. But yeah, papal process. It's a bureaucratic nightmare. Here's what I told Martin. Where is it? Remember, papal process is shop talk among NASA ninth floor administrators, irreverently and informally meaning bureaucratic purgatory, will be killed by a higher power, stuck in a cycle of endless review through a process of ritualized rejection with no hope of actual approval, a monumental bureaucratic engineering hurdle of recreating the Apollo era infrastructure, a papal process requiring a miracle or high-level decree is a more specific and descriptive term for this than the generic painful process. I was taught the term at Mormon Church in my ward in 1987 by Ron Dittemore, who at the time was a flight instructor for the Mission Control. For Mission Control. In the time after the Challenger disaster. Can you imagine the times were tense that, with a disaster of that size and impact to the world and the organization, you have to really tighten down on every single step of the process in every department and screws down tight. So somebody said there's a term that became named after him. He's got his own meme word that departments use now. You did award it, something like that. Means like he always had some particular way that he had communication flow of product as the products went through, I guess, stages. And the communications way that it was distributed. Probably what you're doing at your desk today, that's second nature. But those were the days. But he was a flight instructor. Now imagine if you were a flat earther, you know. You know those guys with the stinky diapers always complaining about flat earthers, and they, of course it's a globe. I know it. My mom knows it. My dad knows it. My uncle, I talked to him, he knows it. Guy across the street, I know him, he knows it. And some people at school I know, most of them, and policemen I talked to. Yeah, so it's a globe. It's not flat. Yeah. They've come, doggone done it, and it's spinning 1,000 miles an hour around the equator. Okay. Oh, did somebody build a go kart? Story Wars. I would watch that if Ari Shafir wasn't on there. Let's see. Reviving my old 66 Chevy S10. Can you see what I'm watching? Let me move your screen over. There, you can participate more in my vocal discussion. Okay. Next to you. Okay, fixing my truck, reviving my old. This is the guy. His name is Isaac. He's from Cars and Cameras. They're one of those go kart and mini bike building channels. They just popped up. Let's see. Shout out to them, Cars and Cameras. So anyway, that's the story of how I knew what papal process was. When it first came out, I remember going to Patricia's hot potato show, and nothing. When was it? Mark Sargent came on and was saying, when he announced it, like it had just happened, and he was kind of he was reporting on what was going on in current events, and he said it was a painful process. And the first time I heard it, I said, no, it's not painful process. He's saying papal process. Doesn't everybody know what a papal process is? I didn't even know that people don't know what a papal process is, because that's just something that somebody said at church. Two different people, at least. I think I heard it from other people even. But then again, most of the Mormons that were in my ward and our sister ward were almost all, it was like 90% NASA employees, or you worked for Rockwell, or you worked for Lockheed, or Ford Aerospace, or what was the Parsons one? I'm thinking of Jack Parsons, the one that started it. I already said Lockheed, not that one. I guess it's Parsons. No, that's right. Parsons. Never mind. There's Parsons, Ford Aerospace, Lockheed, and Rockwell. Wasn't Goodyear there doing something? I think was that. Come on, Goodyear. I think so. There are companies you wouldn't think, but they have divisions that are investing money in different parts of programs. So, what was the other thing I had looked up today? Painful or papal? So, what do you think, guys? Is there anybody in the chat yet that can tell me what they opine in the story about my being taught by Ron what a papal process is? Do you think this will ever become vernacular or part of the local vernacular or diction? Not diction, but the pool of words that people use. What do you call it? The vocabulary of the future generation. I don't know. But it's kind of, this is the old Mormon monarch. I just found out. I'm going to watch something about this guy. Are you hearing this through my microphone? Oh, let me go hit the.
That we were talking about.
There we
earlier,
go.
Those different files in the mind. You're accessing those in order to open that file that was
I
made
cleaned it up
during
too.
disassociation.
Shouldn't have spoke
You-
that soon.
You have to access it, and that access is made through a code, and it can be a phone, it can be one ring, it could be.
Yeah.
in actuality.
I was 5. My younger brother was 3, maybe 4.
Okay.
My older brother, a couple years over me, and my
I
sister
can straighten
over me.
that out.
And so we were all really young. My parents had actually gone to Disneyland.
This guy, I don't know much about him, but I guess he's got
And us kids stayed with my
let's-
grandparents. My grandfather was greatly involved with a lot of the things, not only the church, but also the CIA. And that's how I believe that's how it got into the family, was through my grandfather and my uncle. But that's a whole different topic. So for the test, it was with Mr. Houston, and us kids were staying at my grandparents, and Mr. Houston, we were told he was coming and that he was going to give us a show. And he came, it was towards the end of the week, and he pulled up and he got out, and us kids were just excited about it. We thought a ventriloquist is coming to entertain us. And he did entertain us. He did a little show for us with his little dummy. And then my grandfather said that they wanted to do a test.
Was there an accident?
Kids. And so we
I mean,
all
was
went
he
in
in
with
an
each other.
accident?
And Mr. Houston, he went out and he got something out of his vehicle. It seems like he had an RV. But anyways, he went out to get something out of his vehicle. He came back in. They went down the hall into a bedroom with this
I'm
item.
teasing.
And
He was
we
talking
were
really
talking
slow,
slow,
and I didn't know
and
what the story was about.
and us kids were selected one at a time to go back to the room with Mr. Houston. My grandpa would come and get us. My sister went first, and the rest of us had to wait in the kitchen with Grandma. And when my sister went back there, she was there for a minute, and then she just screamed, this terrifying scream. And it jarred all of us kids some. And then my grandpa, he brought her back, and my sister looked shook up, but she almost seemed like it was funny, like she couldn't understand if she was supposed to laugh or cry. And so then my older brother was taken back, and he went back, and he screamed too. He wasn't back there for long before he just let out a scream, and then he was brought back out. My older brother, he was really stubborn. He still is. And then I was next in line because I was at that time second from youngest. And so it started with the oldest. They were going down the line. And then I went back there. I was taken back with my grandfather back down the hallway. And we went into the room, and Alex was in there, Alex Houston. And he was sitting there, and he had some kind of paperwork with him he was doing. And we went through a couple of formalities. He had to fill out some paperwork of some kind. And then he said he had something in the box he wanted to show me. And he had this shoebox looking thing there. And he took the lid off. Well, he showed it to me, and he took the lid off. And inside of the box was a human hand.
Hand.
Yeah, hand. Yeah, it had been severed from the wrist. And I was a little kid, and I was with my grandpa, and I had a tendency to dissociate. And so I just stood there, just looked at it, and yeah, it was, I just dissociated. And that's how I dealt with that situation. And they said, okay, they looked happy with me. And we left. I was taken back out. My little brother, he was brought back after I was. And he was taken back there. And he didn't scream either. And so my little brother and I, what was going on there is they were, to answer your questions, they were testing us for our ability to dissociate.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I said what I said earlier. He's talking about
Central Intelligence Agency's trauma
abuse
case
over when he was a little baby.
And so
That's why he was talking kind of
my little brother and I were selected for that.
I bet
My
to
older
relive
brother
that
and my sister.
and tell the story.
It doesn't mean they weren't put through some bad things, but they didn't. They weren't selected for that. So that's how I was selected. And then my programming really kicked up after these things would happen, and in my mind it felt like a long time would pass, and then something else would happen, and it would accelerate as you got older, and they used you more. And so that next year we went to Disneyland as a family. So my parents had gone there. They had seen it. They had, in my mind, they went there and they were learning how to take their kids through the trauma-based mind control facilities at Disneyland in Anaheim, California.
I've heard about that.
Because the
They
next
take
year we
children
went there
in
as a family, and I experienced several
At night.
things there with regards to the CIA's program. They have a process there where you're taken off of a ride. It's typically you're on a ride, and so like I was talking about Alice in Wonderland and Alice, they take you off of that ride. So she just triggered me. First, getting on the ride with my father starts to trigger, because there's different levels to your personalities, and reaching those different files, you might call them, in your mind. And so the process started with my father on the ride. A lot of times I'd ride alone with my father on the ride, or me and my little brother and my father, because he was involved with our programming. And so Alice, on that ride we were just talking about, she, we went back and we were programmed together. We were made to make a pornography video because they're really into that.
Would you share what happened? Because I'm familiar with your story, but like how you got from the ride to the programming, like what did you experience? Like you went underground, like would you share that?
Yeah. Let's go back in time a little bit to 1984, because that's the beginning of it. There was a ride there called Journey into Inner Space, I want to say, and it was designed around John C. Lilly. He was one of the doctors in charge of my programming, John C. Lilly, and that ride was based on John C. Lilly's work, and it was about shrinking of atoms.
When I think about this,
things of that nature, very
stuff.
scientific.
when I think about this amusement park in terms of what I am now, semi-retired, still trading assets, but making money, still pay taxes. But from what he's talking about,
And
I'll tell you in
it-
a second.
It was a mind bender. I was put on the ride by myself.
Looking at I've run public companies, operations, overseas operations, are all whole companies. But when you're looking at it from an operational standpoint, to own an amusement park and to be one of the investors, of course you're going to put one of the guys you know that's your buddy on the science exhibit, because you own the amusement park, and whatever you say gets ingrained in the public that goes and visits that amusement park. It's part of our patterning and conditioning, our programming, to go to where everybody goes, to the park where they tell you about Professor, and you say, who? And you learn about him. But he's only important, maybe. I mean, they could have done some great research or something for advancing humanity, but A lot of them, who knows? Of course, when I look at it from a business aspect, they had to have been one of the investors. You know?
If I wasn't allowed to ride with anyone, you had to ride on a car by yourself. So you're coming into this ride. In Disneyland in particular, the ride begins in the line. It starts in the line, which is also a trigger for an individual prone to disassociation and who's being programmed. And so the triggering would begin before you'd even get on the ride.
I want to stop right there and make an announcement, just like the word papal process is a project that's never going to end and not get anywhere and wasting your time. That right there, listen.
For an individual prone to disassociation and who's being...
See how he said disassociation? That's not the true term for what he's talking about. When you split and make alters and you have alternate personalities, or you forget time and things, and your brain starts to chop it up, your experiences and hide them away. That's called dissociation. There's an O after the S, and the first S is dissociation, not disassociation. It's dissociation. Bum, bum, bum.
Programmed.
You hear
And so
people
the
saying
triggering would
both.
begin before you'd even get on the ride. On that ride in particular, these things are shrinking, always shrinking. You see the cars going around and they're shrinking as they go through something like a microscope or something like that. And it starts to bend reality in your mind. And then you're put on this ride with this sound over your head, because that's where the speakers were. And you're by yourself and you're moving through it. And it's telling you you're shrinking in size. And so it starts to bend your mind as a dissociate.
I am passing beyond the magnification limits of even the most powerful microscope. These are snowflakes, and yet they seem to grow larger and larger. Or can I be shrinking beyond the smallness of a tiny snowflake crystal? Indeed, I am becoming smaller and smaller.
I didn't expect to be showing this, but this is a pretty good video. I like the sound right here. Listen to this bass.
These tiny bits of snowflake crystal tower up. Indeed, I am becoming smaller and smaller. These tiny bits of snowflake crystal tower above me like an enormous wall of ice. Can I penetrate this gigantic prism? And yet this wall of ice only seems smooth and solid. From this tiny viewpoint, I can see that nothing is solid, no matter how it...
Isn't this one of those videos that H.W. Bush made when he was over the programs like this? Because there are kids that said he was the man on the video. When they've pointed him out, like he's the man on the video, or that we know whatever. Tell him. Hi kids. Today we're going to talk about unilateral agreements. So
it appears. And still I continue to shrink. What compelling force draws me into this mysterious darkness? Can this be the threshold of inner space? These fuzzy spheres must be the atoms that make up the molecule. 2 hydrogen atoms bonded to a single oxygen atom. And I see it's the orbiting electrons that give the atom its fuzzy appearance. Electrons are dashing about me like so many fiery comets. Can I possibly survive? And there is the nucleus of the atom. Do I dare explore the vastness of its inner space? No, I dare not go on. I must return to the realm of the molecule before I go on shrinking forever.
wow, this is a pretty dramatic little movie clip right there. Of him to talk about melt your mind and mind F. It's really sounding like wow, it makes you feel urgent. Something's urgent. And at the same time, it's authoritative and necessary. Puts you in a frenzy.
Oh, how strange. The molecules are so active now. They have become fluid, freed from their frozen state. That can only mean that the snowflake is melting. Yes, the snowflake has.
Sounds like one of those movies they used to make in black and white from England with the gory movies out in the woods. Or the guy that walked down into that acid bath. Remember he was chasing the guy out of the forest and he ran into a garage where they worked on cars or something, or a plant, some kind of production plant. And he ran to the back of the production room, and there was a handrail and a stairway going down, looked like, and the person chasing him runs over and looks, and he's about to go down, and he realizes it's a pool of acid. It's actually that's where cinema starts to make things unreal. Like somebody's body can melt that fast. Where it looks like he's when he jumps in, he's looking at the guy chasing him. I don't remember if it was a cop or somehow. He was the bad guy jumping in, but he turned out to be some kind of flesh creation made out of synthetic materials. So he just jumped into the boiling pool or whatever he was made of, just went back being part of the pudding. And he just looks at him, jumps in, but as soon as he jumps in, it's like the stunt actor just jumped off the side of the pool into the water. But they make it look like sulfuric acid or whatever. That's about the most acidic you can get. And you're not going to just melt at free fall speed like the 9/11 tower. You know, you would have to soak in there for a while. But anyway, I thought that freaked me out as a kid. I think I may have saw that when I was seeing that when I was. I may have saw that. I may have seen that when I was 7 or 8 years old. Kind of freaked me out, like creepy science fiction. The first time these images as a kid. When you get to be my age, I mean, what more can they do with stories about space aliens that makes it scary? Yeah. Interesting. So, do we have anybody here yet? We talked about everything. The astronauts, the tells that I saw, if I were to question whether they were actually in space, just the way Victor has changed. And Reed still has some timing. He's so busy. I think he broke timing a couple of times, actually. I'm being soft and euphemistic, but I think if somebody else can analyze this, he might get caught more times. Where he doesn't count long enough. He might count a second and a half, and then he reacts and gives a thumb up, gives a fist sign, or a fist bump, or says, yeah, you know. And all of the rest of them are waiting at least twice what he does. I don't know what they're supposed to be counting or not, but his reaction is always it seems like first or ongoing. I didn't really look into it. I've noticed the cable that was under the flags has been receded back, so it's not in the way. It's not going to be a I swear they watched my video. I gave 10 reasons why there were notes all over the Artemis crew. So now they've got Victor. Victor weighs less. One of the things I talked about was Jeremy's probably the biggest guy and weighs the most. And he was laying on. Remember, folks, they're on the ground. This is gravity. They're either on the ground or they're on the zero-G plane when it's at the bottom, and it's not at the top of the parabolic apex, right? So this is his weight. These blue and orange bags under here in this mesh netting. These are they call them the ox suits. If there's any pressurization problem, they jump and put these ox suits on. So he's actually laying down on ox suits like it's a couch. But if you turn your laptop sideways, or turn your phone, if your phone's not on auto rotate, turn it sideways and look at Victor. the one that's quote unquote lying on it. When you stand him up, he still looks straight up, his head straight in line with his spine. But when Jeremy was doing it, he was giving it away because his head was raised up at like a 45-degree angle. And that's your body's reaction to keep the blood above your head. If you get used to it and practice, like obviously Victor's done, you can do it for a long time. And I commend him for. I swear they watched my video. Really. It seems like everything I touched on, they're doing differently. They're sitting still. They're not moving around as much. They're kind of pushing the little beanie, whatever that is, beanie baby, whatever the and the microphone. Now, some type of technology is being used there. The rest I'm looking at is zero-G plane combined with CGI, I would say. Maybe. You think it could be all CGI? I doubt it. Because look at their feet. They do have their feet tucked under these bars where they're trying to be still. So you know they're ready. I think they're on green alert. Hold on. Yeah, so I think they're doing it. But Victor's much better at it, and he doesn't weigh as much, and he's straighter. And the ox suits don't look like they're compressed. Yesterday when Jeremy was talking, if you go back and look at my prior video, this thing was smushed like an old couch. It was way down here, and then his whole shoulder and arm were down almost in Christine's lap over here. And his whole rib cage here on the left side was just completely opacitated. Is that the verb? It was covered where you couldn't see his body, upper body on the left side. And today, Victor's got his arms crossed, and his shoulders are straight, and he's on his arm. On his tricep. I swear they listened to my video. They're going step by step. Well, I've got this big thumbnail that says sus notes all over the sus note. Did you wonder what that was on my thumbnail? It's sus. Is that obvious when I said sus? But then the notes all over the place. I'm playing a synonym on the actual word note. You know. There are notes literally about why it's sus, and I named 9 or 10, but I started to name 9, and I ended up coming up about 11 or 12. Like the hairspray, I didn't have on there, but that's what gets me is how her hairspray, I mean, her hair doesn't change. That curl has been right there on her head all day long, and it hasn't straightened itself out, gone off in any direction. It's obviously teased up really big and then sprayed. Because that teasing gives it a lift. Because when you know how you do that, if you guys don't know, if you